Hello, another day, another AOT vlog. So first thing that I have to do is talk about the end of volume 29, which is the first 2 episodes of the whatever season I'm on in the anime. So it looks like this section of the story, the anime is slowing down and covering a lot of times it looks like 1 chapter per episode. So I have a lot more episodes than I do chapters of the manga. So I'm only going to be talking about 2 chapters, I'm pretty sure, in this section. So what's happening right now is the Marleyans have come in and started fighting. They are attacking. Eren, currently with the Warhammer, the attack, and the founding, is fighting everyone, and at first it's going okay, this back and forth, but very quickly Eren gets overpowered, but he keeps fighting. Like, he refuses to quit. He keeps pushing and hanging on for something. And Reiner even asked the question, why struggle like this? What are you still fighting for? What is the point? And we quickly find out what the point is, because Zeke shows up, and this was their meeting place. This is what he's been hanging on for. Zeke starts fighting, and he says, I'm meeting you here as promised, but maybe I'm a little late. Good job holding out on your own, Eren. Now just leave the rest to your big brother. Now, these episodes were so good. First of all, I was totally tricked by Armin, just like Yelena, or whatever her name is. Yelena, just like Yelena was when Yelena gave the plan and Armin was like, this is wonderful. I was like, no, Armin, but you know, it was all a lie. I should have seen through that. But Armin is not in favor of this plan and still doesn't believe that Eren is either. And he's convincing everyone that this is just a ploy. Eren is saying that he's allied with this. He's saying that he is in agreement with this plan, but he's not. It's not true. He didn't have a choice but to agree to it and to go along with it. But at the end of the day, he's the one in charge of the founding titan. And so he's the one who makes the final decision and convinces Mikasa the same, that it was all just words and she shouldn't believe it. So they're gathering forces, they're getting ready to fight. I loved the line, what did he say? I'm not senile yet, though I did have a little too much to drink. I thought that line was awesome. When Armin is saying, I wish we didn't have to, but we have no choice. It's the only way for Zeke and Eren to save the world. We need to join the Jaegerists and help them and help put them together. And then Armin looks over his shoulder and that face is there. So I'm watching the anime first and then doing the manga afterwards, as I've mentioned a few times. Well, I didn't notice yet, but I was getting really tired while I was watching this episode. I was starting to fall asleep. My eyes were drifting. My mind was drifting. And I didn't notice that. I'm just like watching and starting to drift off. And then this scene happened. And this face was what greeted me when my eyes focused. And it was like, it was such a shock. It was like, I felt like I was just as terrified as Armin was in that moment. And I paused the show and just went to sleep because I was like, I'm clearly not fit to be watching this right now, but this scene was so effective for me. I also loved this scene where Falco is with a soldier and then they see Colt and Gabby hiding around the corner, and the soldier, he's like, I'm gonna take this prisoner of war away, and he takes them around the corner. And Colt thinks, okay, I gotta fight. I gotta kill the guy. I don't have a choice. You know, they're devils. I have to do what I need to do. And Gabi actually stops him. And it turns out that that was a good thing because he was trying to help Falco. He was trying to get him back into the arms of the people that can protect him better. And when Colt asks Gabby, why did you trust the enemy? She looks as shocked as Colt feels right now. She can't believe that she actually wanted to protect his life and that she trusted him in that moment. And when they're alone and things have calmed down, she says, there weren't any devils on this island. No, just humans. I finally understand how Reiner feels. All these people we'd never even met before. We just decided they were devils. Ever since the moment I climbed onto that airship, it's been the same thing over and over. She finally had her moment too of realizing, no, it's not monsters against humans. It's not, you know, the evil ones versus us. It's humans versus humans, capable of good, capable of evil, complicated people. She's finally been forced to confront her indoctrination and realize that she was lied to. None of this was true. She bought it, hook, line, and sinker, and in doing so, all she did was put people in danger, to include herself and someone that she really cares about. And I'm so happy that this has happened. I've been really rooting for Gabi. I feel like her character has been so important for the themes of this story, for the purpose of talking about, you know, the propaganda that people believe when they're fighting in these wars, when they're trying to exterminate an entire people group, and her buying it wholesale and going and continuing that cycle, but then also being confronted with the cycle on the other side of the lines of war, and how she too has affected others just the same as how she's been affected. Like, I was worried that her story was going to end in tragedy, and it still might, but with her never having come to this conclusion, because she's just been a victim of the mental warfare, the mental side of warfare, the intellectual side of warfare, and seeing her actually get the opportunity to see things from the other side and realize exactly what's happening. It makes me so happy for her character. I want this for her character. Oh my goodness. And I love the scene when Falco tells her what guilt he holds. It's my fault that Udo and Zofia died. And then he tells her, I'm in love with you. I became a warrior candidate so that I could protect you. And he's just telling her, you know, like, I'm gonna become a Titan and I'm kind of screwed. So I just need to let you know all these things. And then she rips the armband off of him. Just like when they first escaped their imprisonment and she kept her armband on and she's like, I want them to know that I'm a good one. I'm one of the good ones. I'm a good Eldian. I'm not one of the bad ones. I want to kill them all. And he ripped the armband off of her. And that freaked her out. She didn't want that. Now that she's been faced with reality, with the true nuance of the situation, with the true nuance of the enemy lines being humanity, she now, and on the other side of these enemy lines, they're putting armbands on the people, like the black armbands, the red armbands, the white armbands, to symbolize their levels of loyalty and where they are in the rank of how loyal they are to this new system that's being in place. She's now ripping the armband off of him. It's just like, oh, I love that kind of writing. I love it so much. This fake out was so good with Peck, where she, it looked like she had been killed and all the different soldiers are congratulating each other. Good job! You took her down! What? I thought you took her down. And then it turns out that she had removed herself from the Titan body before it had been destroyed, and they were still fighting. Here, I'll show you. This is the scene that I'm talking about, where they're celebrating, and then they realize, wait, who was it that killed her? And then you turn the page. Oh wait, you don't even have to turn the pages. You can see it right there on this page, that she's still there and she actually hits Zeke, and it's a big hit. It's a big, it was a big success on her part. So this volume ends with her having successfully hit him, and she looks horrified at having done this, but you know, her perspective is like, this is the position she's in, this is what she has to do. So she attacked and successfully hit the person that she once looked up to and admired and followed completely. She successfully hit him. Zeke's down, but he's not dead, and he's about to scream. And we've got Falco right here, as well as, of course, all of these soldiers that have been forced to drink the wine. So it's gonna be pretty terrible. It's gonna be pretty terrible. And that's the end of that volume. So the next chunk of episodes, I'm gonna watch all of volume 30, I think. So the next time I check in with you, I should have the full volume to talk to you about. So really good start. Really loving this section so far. Welcome to the vlog. I have to leave in 20 minutes, and this volume is one of the best chunks of this story, which I feel like I say a lot, but I also mean a lot. One of the best chunks of this story, so I may have to break up this clip into 2 parts, but I wanted to be able to talk to you for 20 minutes about this incredible part of the story. So, in this section, we start off with the title, Two Brothers. I love the way this story focused in on brotherhood and on sacrifice. In Aaron and in Zeke's desperate desire to save his brother and to include him in this future that they have for each other, his devotion to saving his brother from his perspective, from their terrible father, who it's his fault that Aaron is the way he is. But we also have an emphasis on, was his name Gillard? I can never remember the kid's name. Poor guy. The Jaw Titan, and his brother's sacrifice to him, that he manipulated the system essentially to protect him, and then Colt clinging to his brother to the very end, not wanting him to transform alone, not wanting to go through this thing alone, even though he could have run. I don't know that it would have changed anything. He still very well may have died, even if he did run, but he chose not to. Instead, he chose to hold on to his brother as an act of love. These things, to me, the 3 emphases on brotherhood, all in the midst of this chaos and tragedy, was so well done. And then, too, also, even just like an older brother's appeal to an older brother, where Colt is telling Zeke, don't scream yet. Falco, drink some of the wine, he'll transform, let me get him away, then scream. And Zeke's response was essentially, sorry about your luck. He said, it is truly a shame. And then he started screaming, and then Falco transformed. And when he did, everyone transformed, but we're invested in Falco. And when he did, we see Gabi, who wakes up, or rather gets up, looks over at Colt, and we see his very, very burned body. And at the same time, Reiner is trying to hold down Falco the Titan and Aaron the Titan. He can't handle both of them. And once again, Reiner is put in this position where he's loyal to these people. He's loyal to protecting these children. He wants to be there for them, but he also just desperately wants it all to end. Like, he's so ready to be done. And any opportunity that he comes across where he realizes, wait, can I stop fighting now? Can we call this the end? To him, that's a mercy. But he will keep fighting if he has to. He's ready to be done. I gotta tell you, I was freaking out during that section of the episode when Falco kept biting at Reiner's neck. I'm like, stop! Just anyone else! Literally anyone else! Stop biting his neck! He's done so much for you! He so desperately wants you to be safe and to, I don't know. I mean, you're a Titan at this point, so you gotta get someone. Anyway, you end up with the Jaw, which is funny because I actually predicted the Jaw. You didn't see it, so I have no proof for you. But I did. When a friend of mine... Wait, did you see it? Did I talk about this in the last... I might have talked about this in the last vlog. A friend of mine predicted that he was going to turn Titan. I did not. Falco, specifically. And then another friend asked, which Titan would you like to see? And I said the Jaw, because that was the Titan character that I felt had the least emphasis, so it seemed like the smoothest transition. And I just kind of want to see the Jaw in action a little bit more. Although we did get to see him in action more in this section. It was a beautiful scene, though, to see Gillard walk up to them badly injured and saying, I saw Marcel's memories. He tricked the army into making a loser like you into a warrior, all to protect me. Now you have to admit it, that to the end, I've always been better than you. And then he lets Falco take him. It was a really good scene. So, oh my goodness, so much craziness. Okay, so more fighting, yada yada. Not looking good for Zeke, but he just wants to be able to touch Aaron so that they can, have the founding Titan and the royal bloodline have the connection so that Zeke can continue on with his plans. And then Gabi. I gotta tell you, Gabi has a really good shot. Like, she's skilled. She shot Aaron! Gabi shot Aaron! What? Never did I ever. Look at this look on her face. Hold on, let me be mindful. No, this is fine. I just want to make sure YouTube's not gonna be mad at me for the things I show. Look at this look on her face as she gets ready to take that shot. She has changed so much, but she attempts to stop this by taking down Aaron. Oh, it was such a good scene. The way the anime, first of all, didn't see it coming. So definitely, like, I was in shock. I was very much in shock, where I'm just like, whoa, like, this can't be. This cannot be happening right now. But the way the shot happened, it gave me a second to, I don't know, I think I laughed, actually, because I was just so overwhelmed and surprised. Like, I didn't know what to do. And then time slowed and then stopped, and then we changed perspective and the camera was moving, and oh, the way that whole section happened was astounding. Oh yeah, this is the page I was going to be mindful about covering up, just to, you know, not make YouTube mad at me. But look at the look on Zeke's face too. I love the way this series emphasizes the pain and the shock that these characters are going through as they're navigating each step. Oh my goodness. So they end up in the place where all the founders go, all the people who have the founding titan go. This is where Ymir is. We finally get to meet her, and it is the saddest thing. This is where this is the coordinate where the paths converge. So time moves differently here. Time essentially is not passing there, but it's dragging on here. He feels as if he's been waiting here for Aaron for years. Gabi did succeed in blowing off his head, but then it landed in Zeke's hand. So they did succeed at making that connection point. And we get the information that she was the one that rebuilt Zeke when he died, and she was rebuilding his Titan form, that she's actually the former of the Titans. All Titans, any Titan that needs to be formed, it's her working, doing this endless job. So now they're here to finally issue the command to sterilize all Eldians and end their suffering by ending them. Again, I just want to emphasize the artwork. All of these faces that we see from Zeke, the shock and the pain as he's desperately begging his brother to just do his plan. You know, I've put my faith in you. I've done all of this. I've tried to protect you. I believe in you. I want to rescue you from the path, from the life that we've both had with our father. Just issue the command. Just go about this plan with me. And Aaron tells him, absolutely not. I don't believe in this plan. I was just using you. And then we find out, first of all, I love Zeke's grieving when he just rests his head in his hands and he asks Aaron, please just tell me why. I just had to answer the phone and then the camera went dark, so sorry if anything has changed. Okay, so anyway, he asked him, why are you betraying me? Why are you not doing what I want you to do? And he says, because I was born into this world. So this is where we find out that, in fact, Zeke was not chained up, and he manufactured the chains, but he's also, he's the one that's in control because he has the royal blood. But he also is unwilling to give up on his brother. He wants to rescue him still. He wants to go through with this plan, but he wants to bring his brother with him. I had another father, one who rescued me. You needed someone to rescue you as well. I swear I will not abandon you. I will use the power of the founder to fix you. Okay, so we end up going back into Grisha's memories. Now, this whole sequence was phenomenal. First of all, I love Aaron's attitude throughout it, because I love when he's like, yep, everything's terrible. I totally get it. I'm de-radicalized. Let me out now. And Zeke's like, yeah, we're going to keep moving. But I love that kind of sarcastic tone about him. But also, poor Zeke, it's really tragic to watch him go through these memories expecting to see the same father that he experienced and realizing that Aaron got a completely different guy. Aaron experienced a father who had deeply regretted his actions when he was parenting Zeke, and who had changed a lot. And Zeke has to experience watching something completely different from what he expected and realizing that he got the worst version of his father. Like, that's not an easy thing to witness, even though he cares about Eren so much, and I think that he would want Eren to have a better childhood than him, but still, it hurts pretty bad to know, oh, I guess Dad loved you more. I guess you got love from him, where I got nothing but anger and manipulation and being used. I do love, though, that Zeke got to see very clearly how much Grisha still is haunted by the way that he raised Zeke. What did I say? Grisha is haunted by the way that he raised Zeke, that he's still, he regrets it terribly. Sleeps with their picture on his bedside, says his name in his sleep, wakes up and sees Zeke, actually gets to see him, and convinces himself, no, that was just a dream. That's not Zeke. That can't be Zeke, that bearded old man. Eren explains that he has always been vicious, and that had nothing to do with indoctrination. He's just always been this way, and we go back and see him when he killed the men who kidnapped Mikasa, which I gotta tell you, this is very believable to me, because I saw something in that kid's eyes back when he was little, and he was like something along the lines of saying, this is what you deserve, like this is what the world owes you for what you've done, which, I mean, I'm glad he defended Mikasa, but there was some like feral excitement in killing these men that was unlike a scared child. It was something it was bloodlust that he had. And even as a teenager, there was something in Eren's eyes at certain times when he would talk about just killing them all, wiping them all out, all the Titans. There was something in his eyes that was more than revenge and grief. This is very believable to me. I feel that this side of Eren was there from the start. I loved recontextualizing the scene where Grisha tells Eren, when I get home, I'll show you what's in the basement that I've been keeping a secret all this time. But now we see the scene as his father is walking away, and we see the pain and fear in his eyes as he walks away. And this whole conversation with Rod's family, with Frida, I think was her name, when he goes down there, and we're expecting him to just take them out, right? Like, we're expecting him to take over the founding, just like we've seen in the past, but what we actually see is him pleading for them. Please, you have to defend our people. You have to defend us from the Titans attacking the walls. My wife is there. My kids are there. My son and my daughter, they're there. Please protect us. And she does have this mentality of we deserve this. Because of our ancestry, because of our past, because of what has happened, we just need to accept this punishment and take this, she is encompassing that pacifism that the first King Fitz had. And his arguments are, you erase their memories. They don't even know their past. These people who live in these walls know nothing of the crimes committed by their ancestors, all because you stole their memories. You call this atonement, dooming us to be eaten by Titans, ignorant to the end. I love this clash of ideals because it's so well propositioned. Like, both sides, I think, are being explained very well. The desperation, again, in his face as he's delivering it, but also that their clashing ideals reflect that of Zeke and of Eren. Zeke, too, is saying, we should just accept our fate. He doesn't want it done the same way that Frida wants it done, but he believes, well, he even acknowledges, I feel like we'd get along quite well, because he believes that to just end is the best way to end what their situation is. And Eren, well, I'm not sure how much he matches up with Grisha, actually, but he certainly has a different plan. So Grisha explains that the attack titan is capable of seeing future memory, so it can know the future, which we already know because we saw Kruger be able to see into the future, and he was like, you have to save Armin and Mikasa, and that was directly after we learned that the paths transcend space and time. So like that's established, but now it's been overtly revealed. I loved when, okay, so Grisha has decided I have to do this. I have to take over the founding titan. My future's already been set out before me. I have no choice. And then he goes to do it, and instead he drops the knife. He sinks to his knees and he says, I could never kill children. I'm a doctor. I save lives. Oh my goodness, what a powerful moment that he has seen the future, that he knows what he's destined to do. He knows he's seen what's going to happen. And even then, he doesn't feel as if he's capable of it because it's so against his nature. And just the same, Eren then whispers into his ear and convinces him, you advance on to avenge them, even if you die, even after you die. You started this story, didn't you? He convinces him to do it. Now, I love this scene because we have Grisha, who knows the future, knows what's set before him, believes it's set in stone, which I think he could have changed. I don't think it is set in stone. I think he could have made a different decision. But regardless, Eren showed him the future. Eren showed him some of the memories. He's like, this is it. I don't have a choice. Yet his nature is totally against it, that he puts down the knife and that he actually does resist it. Instead of resisting Eren's voice and potentially changing the future, maybe, I don't know, we'll probably never know, or the series will tell us later on, who's to say. But Grisha, instead of listening to Eren's voice, he denied his nature. He went against his nature, and therefore these things played out the way that they did. Much the same, Eren, rather than denying his nature, he went along with his nature and convinced his father to commit an atrocity that he would deeply, deeply, deeply regret. I could be way reading into this. I could be totally out of line. But to me, it seems like this scene is displaying someone who could have resisted their nature and allowed his father to go about seeking a future in a way that felt right to him, but instead he imposed his nature on his father, and his father, who could have resisted the outside influence, instead resisted his nature, went against his nature, and had the outcome that they had. So it's almost as if there's these outside forces, and because you have seen into the future, or potentially one future, I don't know, I'm not entirely sure how this series is dealing with time yet. I may be wrong, but with Eren putting an emphasis on his nature and how he's always been this way, and with choice being a big emphasis on Reiner and Eren and Gabi, and how outside forces are not the exclusive factor in the decisions they've made, but that they actually are responsible for the choices they make as well. I guess I'm kind of imposing that theming that's always been present in the series, and especially recently has been hyper emphasized. I'm imposing it on this scene as well, because there's an emphasis on nature as well as seemingly on choice, and on, in Grisha's case, suppressing that nature, and in Eren's case, imposing that nature on someone else. But ultimately, they're still responsible for their choices, and the time thing potentially complicates it depending on how the time thing plays out in the end. I'm just saying that I don't necessarily think that I'm not completely convinced that this is a closed loop sort of time travel story, though it appears that it could be. I'm not completely convinced that it is, but more so that Eren was showing Grisha the future that was before them because he influenced the future, but possibly Grisha could have chosen a different one. I don't know. Who am I? Some dumb reader. I don't know the end. Oh my goodness. I gotta leave now, but I just want to super quick also mention, in the anime, this scene where Grisha comes out of that scene, comes out of his Titan form, and the way his body is rocking back and forth, he can't even stand up straight, he can't even really control his steps, the way his voice is when he's crying out these lines. I killed them, even those children. I pulverized them with my hands. I felt it. Eren, I killed the Rice family, all but their father. Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted? The way this voice actor delivered these lines, astounding. I'm so glad that Grisha got one last scene with his son, telling him that he loves him, telling him that he's sorry that he didn't spend more time playing with him. Oh, the way this series has given me two characters and completely altered my vision of them, made them so complicated. Two characters that have made many bad decisions in their lives, terrible decisions in their lives. but given their characters so much depth in showing me how they've reached these conclusions and how they've changed over time, either for the better or into a further descent into this ideology or this ideal of how to save the world. But anyway, the point is how well this series has done, how amazing this series has done at creating characters, making them seem very simple, and deepening them and deepening them and deepening them to the point that they're such living, breathing characters. Oh my goodness, it's brilliant. Okay, I gotta stop here. I may return to you only one more time because there's only a few pages I haven't talked to you about yet. So I may return to you after I read the final volume and talk to you about this and the final volume together. But this last chapter with the actual backstory, the actual history, brilliant. Unbelievable. Can't wait to talk to you about it. Bye. Hello. Hopefully the lighting isn't too bad with me being backlit like this. But I made a mistake. So I thought that I only had one volume left after volume 30, but actually there were two more. So we're going to talk about the last chapter of volume 30, as well as volumes 31 and 32 all in one sitting. Sorry about that. I don't know if it makes any sort of difference for you, but anyway. So this conversation was super interesting when they popped back into the place, the convergence, the place where everything converges. And Zeke mentioned that he withheld some of his memories. He was able to be selective over what he showed Grisha to manipulate him into doing what he did. If the Attack Titan truly does have the power to transcend time, you should also have the ability to affect the past by showing Grisha only the memories that would serve you best. If what I saw in your memories was true, he knew that he wouldn't be able to use the power of the Founder himself, even if he took it, and yet he did steal it. He entrusted it to you because he saw memories further into the future. You showed him something that's yet to happen. So I think there's some memories. I think there's whatever is going to happen at the end of this series, Eren already has seen it. When he kissed Historia's hand 4 years ago, he saw the future, and then he selectively showed Grisha what he needed to get Grisha to do what he wanted to do to get the future that he wanted, and what a sight it was. So I don't think I'm actually going to be able to see what it is until the end of the series. Now, after Zeke told Ymir to go ahead and sterilize everyone, take away the ability to reproduce from all of the subjects of Ymir, then we go into and Eren breaks free of his chains by cutting off his fingers, essentially, like ripping the chains free to the point of hurting himself. And then we get this flashback with Ymir, with what the true history was. And I've been waiting for this. I've been reserving judgment on what actually happened, whose history is true, because both histories that we've seen so far have seemed embellished. The Marleyans are making it extraordinarily terrible and making the Eldians seem especially bloodthirsty and horrible, and the history that we saw from the revolutionaries, from Grisha and them, is like a winged founding titan who made their lands plentiful and their crops beautiful, and who cultivated this earth, and it's too extreme. So I've been waiting for, okay, then what's the truth? And here we are, we get the truth, and it's unbelievably tragic. We have this young girl who was enslaved. Her history reflected the Ymir that we met first, the one that not this Ymir, the other one, reflects her in that she just took on the punishment of everyone else for everyone else's sake. Then she was hunted down, and it looks like what I'm taking from this is that she was abused horribly, and it looked like there was no hope for her, and the gods showed mercy on her. Some sort of deity being, transcendent being, showed mercy on her in the water where she would have drowned, and gave her the ability of the original Titan form as a way to defend herself, as a mercy in the midst of her terrible pain. But even as she gained that power, even as she had the ability to, now she was stronger than any of her oppressors, still the man who once enslaved her continued to exert power over her. And now we see the lore built around Ymir put in its true context. Ymir, my slave, you have done good work. You built the roads, cultivated the wastelands, and made bridges between the mountains. My tribe, the Eldians, has grown quite large. As a reward, I shall give you my seed. In the name of Fritz, annihilate the hated people of Marley. So now we see the history truly told. She did cultivate the lands. She did make things more prosperous. She did benefit the Eldians with her amazing powers, but too also her amazing powers were used for utter destruction for the enemies of Fritz. We see how this lore was built up in both directions. We see what the true history was and how tragic it truly was. This woman who was given this power, who could have dominated everything, but in fact that power was actually used for control and for manipulation. Fritz used it to destroy people and to have his own benefits. And when the Marleyans fought back, or someone fought back, and he would have died from that spear, she ran out in front of it to protect him. He still didn't value her life at all and just told her, get up and keep serving me. And when she refused to get up, he cut her up and fed her to her children who bore the names of the walls that would be created later, and they took on the Titan form. Oh my goodness, this is so upsetting and disturbing. My daughters, give birth and multiply. The blood of Ymir must not perish. If you die, my daughters, have my grandchildren eat your spines. If my grandchildren die, pass their spines from child to child. Even after I die, my Eldians will rule the great lands of the world with their enormity. So this is how it all began. It was just meant to be one. It was just meant to be this one Titan from the beginning, but because of human greed and desire for control and dominance, this act of mercy turned into a tool of manipulation that was then passed down from person to person in the most gruesome, terrible way. And after Ymir died, she was still subject to serve for all of eternity, still in this childlike form, in this realm where time is completely different, where she now has to spend her life building Titans and continuing to serve this mission of the king who controlled every facet of her life and every move that she made. This scene was brilliant when we went back into this other realm, and Eren grabbed a hold of Ymir and said, I'll put an end to this world. Give me your strength. You're no slave. You're no god. You're just a person. You don't need to serve anyone. You can be the one to choose. And as Zeke is running to her, yelling commands, still trying to, he still has the royal blood, and so he can still order her, he can still command her, force her to do his bidding. And so he's screaming out what he wants her to do, what future he wants to have, and the whole time Eren's telling her, you decide, you choose, stay here for eternity or end it all. Eren said, you must have been waiting all this time, waiting 2,000 years just for somebody. And I think the end of that sentence was just for someone to treat you as a human, just for someone to acknowledge your freedom, your humanity, and to stop just issuing more orders, stop treating you as a slave. And this whole time, as this is happening, Zeke is rushing to her with this desperate look on his face, trying to get her to do his bidding. Just follow my orders. I have a plan. I know what's best. Just do what I want you to do. And in fact, her enslavement was not something that she was cosmically forced to do. When she was given this power, she stayed under the command of King Fritz because that's what she thought was her only option. And then in this time in eternity where she's just been continuing to serve and to work and to have no humanity given to her, no free will given to her, it was what she had always done, but really what she needed was for anyone to acknowledge her humanity and to tell her, you have a choice, and to ask her what to do, to ask her to do something instead of commanding. And we see that because Zeke is following her, screaming commands. I have the royal blood, follow me. And she chose to do what Aaron said. She made the choice. And when we finally see her face for the first time, it's a face of anguish and of anger. It's 2,000 years of pent up pain. And then we see that in our world, in the right here and now, Aaron is given life again. He's brought back, and it all continues. I don't know if this plot point of like this godlike figure bestowing on Ymir the powers and what the true history is, I don't know how this is received among the fandom, but I can say that I personally love it because it's something unlike what I've seen in other series. It was something so unexpected, something really, I think it's something that, I don't want to call it brave because that feels cliche, but I'm going to call it a risk. It seems like it's a risk. Like, this is not what an audience would be expecting by any means. But also, Ymir has always had this deity-like persona or lens on her from the Eldians. So I don't think having a deity-like thing give her her original power really is that far out of the realm of possibilities. Like, it doesn't seem like that much of a reach. She always was some sort of godlike figure. So the idea that she was a person who was given these powers by some sort of nebulous figure, some nebulous godlike figure, doesn't actually seem that far from the story that we had already trodden. It's just like another step. And the fact that that we get this much depth off of just a few pages of who she is and what she's suffered, and the fact that the true history of this is still humanity, right? Like, we have this fantastical element of a setting that is very based in humanity and the worst that humanity is capable of being, and how that traps humanity in this endless cycle because of this nature that humans have. And so the fact that we have this fantastical element to this discussion, but what it all brings us back to is still this nature of humanity, of the worst of humanity, which is King Fritz. It is going back to control, a desire for dominance, selfishness. It's the cycle that brought, the same cycle that we're facing today is what started all of this in the first place. I think in most authors' hands, I would consider this kind of like a weird cop-out, like I wrote myself into a corner, so I don't know, godlike powers because she fell into some water in a tree? I don't know. Like, it would seem in most authors' hands, I would probably hate this. But in the hands of Isayama, I actually think it works brilliantly because this is the way he tells story, is themes first. But because he's such a good storyteller, he makes it so that the plot still actually fits into this themes first storytelling style. I still have 2 volumes to talk about. Let me see if we can do this. Anyway, I loved finding out the true history that's behind all of this warfare and all of this hatred that we're facing now, all of this conflict that we're facing now. It's not this godlike figure that cultivated the earth and did nothing but good, and nor is it this demonic-like creature that has done nothing but destruction and evil. It's a child that's been caught in the same cycle that we're still facing today. And it kind of brings us back to, once again, Sasha's dad being the best character in the series. It brings us back to what Sasha's dad said, that the only way out of this cycle is to get these children out of the trees. Because it all began with this child being stuck in the woods, being stuck in these trees, being caught up in this thing that children should never have had to carry. Oh my Goodness, it's so good. Volume 31 starts off with showing us everyone when they went into Marley, exploring this whole new land with all of these things that they never thought that they would ever see, things that they had never even imagined, like ice cream. Oh, how wonderful. But also being introduced to people who had been displaced by the war. These camps of people whose homes had been destroyed, and then they've just been left to try to survive. Eren asks Mikasa, why do you care so much about me? Is it because I saved you when you were a kid, or is it because we're family? And Mikasa doesn't really know how to respond. Obviously, the answer is because she's desperately in love with him, but she says, you're family. And everyone sits around with these people who have been displaced, and they have drinks together, and they celebrate together, they pass out together. But it's people from all over who have all been affected by this war, who are coming together and communing together, which is exactly what we're going to see our group of people who have been enemies up to this point. They're going to do the exact same thing moving forward. Now, I still don't know if this is a deterministic story or not. I feel like free will has been so heavily emphasized in this story that it's hard for me to believe that it is deterministic, but at the same time, the conversation is certainly here, right? With Eren going back in time and, or Eren being able to see the future in advance, then go back in time and manipulate his dad in order to get the future, to get the outcome that he already saw. Then we have conversations like this. Mikasa saying, I wonder if there was any other choice we could have made. Maybe this was set in stone from the start. Still, I can't help but think, what if that day I chose another answer? Then maybe it wouldn't have come to this. So I don't know, like I said, it's really hard to have some of these conversations not knowing how it all ends, right? Like, I don't know is this even a conversation in the story of if we ever had a choice in the first place, if it was all set in stone from the start, or if I could have made another choice that would have given us a different ending. I myself am not deterministic, but I have family who are deterministic, and so we have these conversations about free will very frequently, and so it's something that's always on my mind, and I'm always trying to pick up, or if I see it anywhere in the story, I like fixate on it, so I can't tell if I'm fixating on something that I have a high interest in, or if it's actually something that's really substantial in the story. But anyway, Eren connected to all of the Eldians everywhere, and briefly for a moment brought them to this place of convergence, and told them, well, he told them a bunch of things, but I'll shorten it to, the Titans of the Walls will thunder across the world to every land beyond this. Their rumbling feet will snuff out every life in those lands. So essentially, Eren told Zeke, your plan sucks. Obviously, we're not going to just sterilize everyone and end racism by killing the race that everyone is trying to kill. And then like, woohoo, we win because we can't be oppressed anymore because we died. That's a bad plan, Zeke. So I'm just gonna kill everyone but us. And it's like, Eren, and I feel like we still haven't found the solution. I feel like we still haven't found the solution that's gonna end the cycle. I mean, I guess you technically end the cycle if you kill everyone but you. But I was strongly opposed to Zeke's plan in the last video. I would just like to say I'm also strongly opposed to this one. Seems like we've just got a whole lot of bad plans being thrown left, right, and center. Thankfully, everyone else is also strongly opposed to this plan. Everyone else is like, no, this is not what we were hoping you were going for, my guy. So when Eren undid the hardening of all the walls and released all the colossal titans to level the entire earth other than Paradis, Reiner also had the hardening on him undone as well. And I'm dumb, so I didn't pick up on what the implications behind that was. I was just like, oh shucks, wow, that's interesting. He undid all the hardening. But of course, Armin, always 5 steps ahead of me, immediately was like, I'm sorry, what happened? So that means Annie is free? Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. This scene was also one of my favorite scenes. If you have heard me talk about other things, what I love about Isayama's writing, then you probably could probably look into the future and see that I was going to love this one too. So we have the scene where Kaya is being cornered by a Titan. the entire group that are a part of this orphanage house are all running, and a Titan is chasing them, and Kaya ends up getting separated from them, and it looks like she's going to die. And then the Titan gets shot. And when I was watching this episode and the Titan got shot, I immediately knew, because there was only one option for Isayama. For the way he writes, there was only one choice. Of all the people in the series that could have rescued her in this moment, there was no other option than Gabi. As soon as the Titan was shot, I was like, Gabi, she's here to continue the cyclical writing that Isayama thrives in. And I was right. There was only one option from the start, and it was Gabi to continue to close this cycle, to choose to step outside of it and to end it. Because of the actions of the Marleyans, Kaya's mom was killed right in front of her, and she would have been too, but Sasha saved her life and gave Kaya something else to believe in, made her want to be like someone like that who would actually save people instead of needlessly harm them. Then when Kaya found out that Gabi killed Sasha, then because Gabi saw Sasha kill someone she cared about, Gabi then killed Sasha, continuing the cycle. And when Kaya saw that, or realized that Gabi killed Sasha, Kaya tried to kill Sasha, continuing the cycle. But here we have Gabi saving Kaya instead. And in fact, in Kaya's mind, looking like her big sister, Sasha. And then Kaya vouches for her and says, no, she's one of us. She's one of the orphans. She's my sister. And she says, when Gabi asks her, why did you defend me? She says, I should be asking you, why did you save me? You even risked your life. She said, I don't know. And Kaya said, I'm the devil who tried to kill you, right? And Gabi says, no, the devil was me. I've killed a lot of people, so people would praise me. That's the devil in me. And Colt says, he's inside of me too. There's a devil inside of all of us. And they ask them, what do we do if that's true? And he says, we get out of the forest. Even if we can't, we must keep trying. It's been so clear since we found out that the Titans were, in fact, humans. It's been so clear that this story isn't good guys against bad guys, monsters against heroes, but that it's showing, it's reflecting that every human is capable of good or evil, and that this cycle continues because of the choices that we make. And here, this is wrapped up once again so well, while utilizing characters and scenarios that have been so well exposed up to this point. We're seeing that these characters who have done so much harm to each other and to others are also capable of saving each other, and that all they can do at this point is just to try to get out of the forest. It's brilliant. I don't have the words to articulate well enough how unbelievable I think the writing in this story is. Like, there may be some plot points that people don't love, and I completely respect that, because there are some things that are really out there. But I just think that the writing in this story is near unmatched. Scenes like these make the series for me. I mean, scenes like these just, they're masterful in my opinion, and the series is littered with them. So here we have what am I trying to say? I'm overwhelmed. Here we have them fighting back against the Titans, and Commander Pixis? Yeah, Commander Pixis is fighting. But he gets lost in the fight, and then now he is a Titan, and they have to take him down too. I loved this scene for Armin where he realizes who he's looking at, and he says, Commander, we've made it this far because of you. Rest in peace, as he has to take him down. Okay, now we finally get to the plot point of Annie being released from her case after all of these years. After all of these 4 years, she's here. And look at this scene. Look at how awesome she looks here. Now, she was immediately overpowered because she's weak after being put in that position for 4 years, but look at her. We do get her backstory, that she was taken in by this Eldian man who trained her up to be able to fight and defend herself no matter what. Even if she's completely without weapons, he wanted her to be able to kill her enemies even unarmed. And he wanted a better life for himself, but he also wanted to see her again, that he truly, I mean, he really did care about her. So this whole section of the story is just a lot of undoing. It's a lot of characters just feeling really overwhelmed, completely overpowered, like they're not the right person for the job, they're not the best choice for being able to move forward. And we see this from several different characters, and I mean, we've seen it from Hanji, we've seen it from Armin, Mikasa also just doesn't, everybody feels over their head at this point and feels like someone else could do this job better. And I think that that is intentional, kind of showing that there really is no perfect person for the job, and even in times of complete desperation where we're like, someone else could do this better, all we can do is keep moving forward. All we can do is do our best and keep fighting, because yeah, maybe someone else would be better for the job, but they're not here, and we can do something. And they do. I mean, it's terrible what they have to go through in the rest of this volume and the next volume. It's terrible what they have to go through, but they just keep pushing forward because that's really the only choice that they have, even though everyone feels completely out of their breath. What? I can't think of the phrase for this. Everyone feels like they're not the right one for the job. Levi is alive. It was a bluff. I'm so happy. So Levi's main goal now is just to kill Zeke. That's all he wants to do. Oh my goodness. We also had this whole plot point with Connie taking Falco away after Falco transformed and telling him, I'm gonna get you some help. I'm gonna take you to the hospital. We're gonna take care of you. But first, oh look, how weird. There's a Titan here. Can't move. Let's clean its teeth. And he wants to get his mom back. He wants to feed Falco to his mom and save her. He's just in such a painful state. But they can't let that happen because they need to be able to team up with the rest of the Titans, and they're not going to be able to earn their loyalty or their trust if they let Falco get fed to a Titan for their own agendas. And so Armin does everything in his power, even potentially giving up his own life, to let that be the Titan that Connie's mom eats in order to save Falco. And thankfully, Connie saved Armin. And then Connie kind of gets to his breaking point where he realizes, I really haven't become the person that I promised my mom I would become. She wanted me to be a soldier that saved people, and here I am trying to kill someone to bring her back. Would she be proud of that? And he says, Armin, I want to become a soldier my mother would be proud of. So let's go save some people in trouble. So he kind of resets himself and puts himself back into the right mindset. I mean, this whole section of the story, everyone is just kind of at their most desperate. They're kind of at the end of themselves before they stand up and start fighting again. This scene was awesome. I was really worried here when Flock and Jean were ready to execute some people, and it looked like Jean was actually going to do it, but then he like shot to the, he had the gun right on the guy's head, and then he shifted it and shot 4 times on the ground. And he's like, whoops, I missed. It's like, it wasn't very convincing. But since apparently it's Peek, not Peck, but since Peek came up immediately and grabbed a hold of them and ran off, it kind of all went unnoticed, I guess, but it was his signal to them, and he decided to stay. He decided to join up his forces with them, and I love this line. And this brings us back to Jean's original motivation, which was to just get that cushy life in the interior wall. And he's asked, why did you do this? If you had it all set, if you would have stayed with the Jaegerist, you would have had a good life. And he goes, yeah, I wish I could have stayed cooped up in my room, ears shut, but if I had, the burnt ashes of the dead world would never have forgiven me. Oh, I love that. I love that for Jean, that he had the opportunity to get that cushy life that he wanted from the beginning, but he couldn't face just closing his ears and pretending like everything around him wasn't happening. He had to stand up and he had to fight, even if it meant losing everything. He couldn't live with himself if he didn't. Oh, I love Jean so much. Okay, now volume 32, which I don't have in physical form, so I have to do digitally. Most of this volume was one long conversation, and as I'm going through the anime as well as the reading, well, mostly the anime, because the reading I actually knew how it was going to conclude, but as I'm going through the anime, I'm like, oh, I'm bored. And that never happens in this series, you know? Like, I'm so into every moment, even the slow moments. I feel like the series is perfectly paced. Everything is so impactful to me. But as we're sitting around talking for so long, I was like, I don't care. But then we came to the conclusion, and I thought it was brilliant. So once again, Isayama proves that oh, there's a bug on the lens. Proves that I have nothing to worry about. Move aside, fella. Okay, so Mikasa says, I don't want Eren to slaughter everyone else. I'm not okay with this situation, so I am going to stop him. And she is challenged, like, okay, so you're saying you'll kill him? And she's like, well, a good conversation might do it. Like, she doesn't want to kill him still, but she does intend on stopping him. And Hanji is trying to come up with a plan where they can just kind of stall, I guess. I don't see how they can lay a hand on this place, at least for a while, if they are able to succeed. And Jean points out to her that last time we decided to explore possibilities, we ran out of time and couldn't solve a thing. And so they're having this problem where Hanji just knows point blank, genocide is wrong. Like, what Eren is trying to do is not the solution. I don't know what the solution is, but we just need more time to try to work on it, because I know that the direction that things are going in cannot be the solution. And Hanji, I feel ya. That's basically where I am too, where I'm like, there has to be some answer that isn't this. And I love that the series has me in the same position as the characters, where it's like, there is no real, like, I don't see a solution either. I don't see one, because if they stop fighting, they get wiped out. If they then wipe everyone else out, then what are we doing? Like, are we actually solving anything, or are we're just doing the exact same thing? Like, this cannot be the solution, but it also feels so hopeless. And that brings me back once again to, how do we even end this series? How do we even come to a conclusion? Because I don't see a solution. Neither do the characters, and I really appreciate that they're putting me in the exact same position where it's like, I don't see a solution. I just know that this can't be it. Anyway, so they're all sitting around the campfire, all these people who are completely opposed to each other, who were enemies 2 seconds ago, that have decided we have to team up. Like, they won't even move. They won't even work together on a meal, because they just don't, there's no trust among them. And I love this conflict that they have between them, where they're fighting out their different positions. You're proving yourselves. You're proving that everything we believed about you is true. Look, you're destroying the world. You're using your incredible power for terrible destruction. And then Jean is saying, so we're the bad guys for fighting back? We're only doing this because you were attacking us. You were gonna wipe us out. And so now Eren is put in a position where he thinks the only way to save his people is to kill the people trying to wipe us out. He's like, you left him no choice but to use the rumbling, didn't you? And then the guy says, oh, so now you care about history. Okay, let's talk about how you guys wiped us out way back 2,000 years ago. And Hanji says, hey, stop this. It's pointless to argue about what happened 2,000 years ago. You weren't there. So Hanji defuses the situation, essentially telling them, let's focus on trying to resolve this issue here and now. Let's figure out how to move forward rather than pointing fingers back at each other. And then Yelena, or whatever her name is like, no, let's point fingers some more. Let's just point out what everybody has done. Everybody's worst deed possible. You hurled that thunder spear at Falco. Nearly killed him. Gabi, you succeeded at killing Sasha, remember that? And then Jean is like, you know what a great idea. Let's all air out our grievances. Remember what you did and how unsuccessful it was? And then the response, I forgot. What was it again? The name of the good friend of yours you once told me about? And then the look on Reiner and Annie's faces when Marco's name comes up, and then they have to admit it. They tell the story of what they did to Marco. And this is when I finally understood the point of this scene, and when I realized that even though I managed to get bored for once in this series, it still was such a fantastic scene, because they say that his last words were, "We haven't even had a chance to talk this over." And that's what we've been building to this whole time, that they need to talk this out. They have to communicate. They have to air out their grievances if they're ever going to be able to understand each other and not continue to point fingers, not continue to hold their prejudices, not continue to hold on to these ideals that they have about one another. They have to be able to actually talk it out. Otherwise, they will never connect. Hanji said, "It's still not too late. We've fought one another tooth and nail all this time, but at the very least, we're talking now, not fighting." Who could have imagined it? That we'd all be eating around here like this. And then Jean beats Reiner bloody. Now, I love this, even though it's sad for me, because I just watched Connie go to his darkest place, and I'm watching Jean beat up Reiner. All these characters that I love so much are having such a hard time right now. But I love that, because this scene could have been cheesy if it was, we all just need to have a nice conversation, and then they talk it out, and then they're pals, and then like the conflict between them is over. That wouldn't have been satisfying to me. But the fact that this conversation ended with Jean beating Reiner for what he did to Marco, and actually hurting Gabi in the process. And then he can apologize to Gabi, but he can't apologize to Reiner, and refuses to, and says, "I'm not going to forgive you for this." And Reiner's like, "I get it. I'm fine with it, honestly." Because even though them actually being able to connect and have these conversations is the only way that they can finally start to understand each other and finally start to have any sort of camaraderie, any way to work together to find a better solution, that doesn't change all the harm and the damage that's been done leading up to this point. That doesn't change all the loss and the trauma and the grieving and the hatred. That doesn't just disappear when you start talking. So keeping that tension, keeping that conflict and anger, while also making a decision to move forward, I think is so powerful. So this whole section ended on them deciding that they were going to have to turn on their fellow Eldians in order to get what they needed and move forward. I don't even fully understand their plan at this point, but they needed to get out of there with the airship. They're saying, "I don't want to kill them." And Annie's like, "Well, that makes sense. I mean, maybe you wouldn't have breached the wall on that day." And that's when Reiner realizes what Eren really meant when he said, "I'm the same as you." I love this line. "All the foolish, blood-stained history, we do have responsibility to pass it on to the future generations. Eren Yeager wants to erase everything, and that is unforgivable. So long as we continue to avert our eyes from our own foolish acts, this hell will never end." Oh, it's so good. So, Armin and Connie set up a trap, try to tell them they've captured our people, they've killed Jean, and, who else did you say they killed? I don't know. They're getting away. We have to go. And this is where absolute chaos happens. I don't remember her name, but she fights back and she is amazing. Mikasa busts through the window and starts beating people. Tons of people die. They're trying to get their allies out of there. And then at the pier, we get, hopefully YouTube will let me show this, at the pier we get Armin being attacked, and then Samuel was his name, telling Connie, why did you betray us? We were supposed to continue forward. Didn't you say we'd get enough land that we could eat meat together? And he's flashing back to them when they were all comrades, all working together. And this line was said twice in two different instances. Brilliant. "You can't separate humanity from violence." Right, Captain? And that's while Annie and Reiner turn Titan and are fighting. We have so much death and bloodshed in this scene. And then this episode ends with Connie having to kill his own comrades in order for them to be able to escape. It's so tragic. I mean, what we're watching is comrades having to turn on comrades. I mean, it's devastating, but I love that this series doesn't really give you any easy way out or any soft ending. You have to face the full repercussions of every decision you make. Even if it's a decision for a better tomorrow, it doesn't mean that there isn't going to be all of this tragedy to get there. So it turns out that the way the Colossal Titans are moving, that they're going to level the entire Earth in 4 days, but it's going to take half of a day for them to get the, I think it was the airship. I didn't screenshot the panel of what they were talking about. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, it was the airship working for them to do what they need to do. It means that Liberio is going to be leveled before they can get their plan in motion, which Jean immediately, this is not just some nebulous place, this is not just some abstract thing, this is the place where they were able to sit around the table and commune with people who were different from them, people they didn't know, couldn't even communicate with, couldn't even have that one conversation with, but they were able to bond and connect. And in any other series, I would say, oh, let's see how they beat the odds. Let's see how they save those people. Let's see how they rush in before the Colossal Titans and convince everyone to evacuate and save all the people. But for Attack on Titan, I'm afraid they're all gonna die. Anyway, this whole section is a lot more pain and death and chaos. Fighting, Jean realizing that if he hesitates, then people die, so he's not hesitating this time. Falco going Titan and fighting. Gabi, once again, being the sharpshooter of the series. When Flock is trying to stop them all, Gabi one-shots him. And I gotta say, I know Gabi the people have mixed feelings, not mixed actually, people have very differing opinions about her. There's the fan club and then there's the haters club. I adore Gabi. She's in my top characters list. I have loved her from the beginning and through all of her worst moments. She's still a character that I think has been so necessary for the story, but she's undergone such a brilliant arc and she's such an essential character. I honestly don't understand how you can hate her. I mean, if you're gonna hold her war crimes against her, then you better line up the rest of the characters too. I'm just saying. This was an amazing scene for her. She's had so many amazing scenes. I love her so much. Anyway, Commander McGath, which is one of the, I didn't show you the panel when I read his line, but he had one of the amazing lines that I was reading off was his. He has now met up with Commander Shadis? I don't know. I'm watching the anime and their names aren't sticking. Anyway, he has teamed up with him and they are going to do their last act together to give them a way out. And once again, it's two people from seemingly opposing sides being able to have a conversation, relate, team up together, make this decision. And it is unbelievably sad as the characters reflect. But they do get away. And that is what we're left with at the end of this section of the story. There's just so much happening in the series that is just the worst. Like, I think that this series shows unflinchingly what it's trying to show, and I admire it so much for that. And I think that it's written in the most brilliant, like, in such a skillful way. But it also is just so devastating, intentionally so. I know, I'm just expressing my feelings. I don't know what to expect. I have no predictions. I feel that we have everything that has happened up to this point has made me believe I don't know how we possibly can have any other answer. Like, it seems like Eren has begun the rampage, and like, how can they stop him? But I will say, in a series as unbelievably ambitious as this one is, Isayama has proven to me over and over again that he plans things out from the start. And so I expect that he had a goal of the end from the beginning. So I'm just gonna watch and see what happens. I have been very, very nervous about the end, but time and time again, Isayama is proving himself to me as a writer, so I'm really not that worried anymore. Watch those be my famous last words. Anyway, I love this series. Please do chat with me more in the comments. I'll read the most upvoted comments, and my mod, Lynn, will go through ones that I don't see, screenshot them, send them to me. If you guys are offering me corrections or clarifications, anything that I need to see, she will make sure that I do see. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for letting me be unbelievably indulgent in how I talk about this series. I appreciate that y'all show up for these videos because I am honestly shocked that you do. I think I have one more vlog video left, and then I'll have one more final you know, sitting at my desk, full series, end of the series discussion, we might do a live stream or two. And then I will sadly be done. Can't believe we're already here. Please do chat with me more in the comments. I'll see you again soon. Bye.